Hey y'all, I hope you're doing all right. I am really excited to drop this webinar replay here on the podcast. A couple weeks ago, I ran a webinar called Energy Healing Explained for the Skeptics, the Saints, and the Seekers. So it was designed to teach you about the science behind energy healing, to draw parallels between what you think energy healing is and where you see it in your daily life. And then I extended an invitation to the group to join my new intuitive connection through ancestral healing group program for women who are looking to expand their intuitive capacity. They want to be able to listen to their intuition, to hear their guides, and then to be able to make decisions with their intuition at the forefront. So I am going to add the webinar here because it's really, really good, but I just wanted to introduce it to you so that you knew exactly what I was talking about. When you are done listening to the webinar, you are invited to join me for the group healing container that starts January 26th, which is a Saturday, January 26th, 2025 already. I cannot believe it. This is a 12-week container where I will teach you how to expand your capacity to perceive and trust and follow your intuition. We are going to meet 3 Saturdays a month, and that's it for 3 months. So 3 Saturdays a month for the first 3 months of the new year. And the first 2 Saturdays, we're going to be doing workshops and teachings. I'm going to share information with you, whether it's the science or practices or different concepts in the intuitive and energy healing realm. So you know what the heck is going on. Before I could really fully trust my intuition, I needed to understand the science and the logic behind it so then I could trust and not have to rely so heavily on logic. So I want to be able to give that to you because I know a lot of us have questions and a lot of us have heard things from the time that we were kids about it being spooky stuff or witchy stuff or scary stuff. Being a witch is like cool these days, but there are still some questions that you probably have because you've been told things to distance you from this internal connection that you have. With the first 2 Saturdays of the month are going to be about teaching. And then the third Saturday of the month is going to be a breathwork session where you just get to come and relax and receive. And these breathwork sessions are so powerful for the people who have attended my breathwork sessions before. It's 90 minutes of just being able to rest and connect. A lot of people go to sleep, and it doesn't mean that stuff isn't happening in the background, because it is. They wake up feeling refreshed. They wake up with new connections and thoughts that they weren't even consciously thinking of. They wake up feeling like they can conquer the world and that the things that they've been working on throughout the week are starting to kind of sink in and integrate into their being. Between our sessions, we will have journal prompts, and I will create workbooks and worksheets or give you the ones that I already have that I think are appropriate for what we're doing. And you will also be able to stay connected whenever you want to with the Slack community. I'm really, really excited about this container. This is for you, particularly if you've been interested in tapping into your intuition, if you've been interested in reconnecting with your ancestral practices and cultural roots, if you have a big decision coming up, if you're trying to decide whether you want to move abroad, or if you want to stay in a relationship, or if you want to have children or not have children, or if you want to get a new job or change careers, this is the perfect time to join this container. Before we start, we'll pick a question that we want to have an answer to, someplace where we can focus on connecting our intuition and seeing what our intuition tells us about it. This will help you focus as you're learning, but it will also give you the skills that you need to be able to apply this process to whatever decisions or situations are coming up for you. The cost of the program is $1,500 if you join after January 1st. If you get in by December 31st, then it is $1,200. So do not wait to sign up. There are payment plans that are available for both. And if you pay in full, there is a bonus for that too. If you are interested, go to ashawilkerson.com/group and check out all the details. You can also send me a message if you have any questions. Find me on Instagram at Asha Wilkerson ESQ. Send me a message there with your questions and I will get right back to you. All right, without further ado, here is the webinar that is so informative. Please, please, please listen all the way through because it is a game changer. All right, ciao, ciao. Welcome to Because I've Healed, the podcast where we talk about shaking the chains of expectations placed on us by the world. My name is Asha Wilkerson, and I'm a former high achieving attorney and college professor turned healing focused life coach for Black women. Each week, I'm bringing you a life lesson that started with healing. Not only will I explain the chains I was able to break, but also the success I experienced after. Let's get to healing. Let me actually hear. It's what I needed to be able to um, go down this path so that I could. Sorry, there's AI companion stuff that's happening here, so now I'm trying to figure out what is this. I don't know what it is. How about I just deny? Okay, hopefully that won't be too distracting for you, and it'll just be like regular Zoom. Um, but this is hi, Anush. How are you? This this kind of going back to the basics, it was really helpful for me because I had always been curious about energy stuff when I was a kid. I remember my mom taking me to psychic fairs a little bit where I grew up in Portland, Oregon. And I knew that she was intuitive at a young age, but it wasn't something that we like talked about as like this is how you tap in or this is really what it means. It was always kind of something that wasn't quite a secret, but it was like kind of over here. And I didn't know if I also had intuitive capabilities or gifts. And I was curious, but didn't know enough and didn't really know where to turn into or to where to tune in to even get more information, especially like without feeling weird, right? Because I was also one of those kids who was very much a rule follower, who very much cared what other people thought and was just hyper aware of how I was perceived. And some of that makes it kind of hard to jump off into the esoteric. But once I started learning more about the science behind energy healing and how the science actually supports the spiritual or supports the woo, and the woo supports the miracles of the science. Like they're not actually opposed, like we're taught to believe in particular religious settings, or I feel like our society just makes us choose one or the other, either your science or your church, right? Either you believe in the Big Bang Theory or you believe in Adam and Eve, but you can't possibly hold two creation stories. Um, at the same time. But as I started learning and diving in, I realized that, yeah, actually, all of this stuff goes together. Um, and the more that it goes together, the easier it is to understand and to get into. So let a few more people in this room here. Okay, so hi, welcome in. Let me get right into it. This also, please, if you have questions about um, anything as I go through it, please definitely let me know. And I will also stop us periodically just to check in and to make sure that you're feeling good and to answer whatever questions that you have as well. So let's see. Let me go ahead and get this started. You would think that I use Zoom every week when I teach, and it seems like inevitably there is always something that throws me for a loop, like right now. But here we go. Okay. I think y'all can see that and see me as well. So again, welcome to Energy Healing Explained for the skeptics, the saints, and the seekers. And I really am trying to cover all bases here for the people who were like, I don't know, but I'm kind of curious. I'm not really sure how it all works, but I'm here. And then for the people, the saints are the folks who've grown up in church. Interestingly enough, I would always take myself to church when I was a kid. My auntie was super religious, like so religious that every other word out of her mouth was hallelujah. And so sometimes you would feel like you couldn't quite get a whole sentence out without the hallelujahs coming. But I appreciated that upbringing as well. And then also the seekers of folks who are interested but don't quite know where to start. Okay, and I just want to make sure, is the internet okay for me? I see some of you all freezing, but am I freezing for you, or are you still, am I good? You're okay, I'm good. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so the intro I've already given a little bit, but this is the background. This is like kind of spirituality, energy healing 101, just energetics 101 as it relates to the spiritual world. And again, this background for me is that it helped my logic brain to understand what was happening on a logical basis so that I could take the leap, if you will, and be open to what could happen from a spiritual basis. And tonight's purpose is really just to make sure you get your questions answered about the basics of energy work and that you have a sort of a direction at the end of where you might want to explore next. It's not a time to like convert you to anything, but it's really just informational. And then at the end, I will have an opportunity for you to join a group program that I've created. We'll talk about the science of energy and healing. We'll talk about how energy healing practices actually show up in religion. This is one of my favorite things because once I saw where I was already doing some of these things, I was like, phew, like mind blown, like, okay, all right. They're not just practices that are held in particular realms, but they show up frequently for all of us. And then the talk about becoming an intuitive woman. So I would consider myself now an intuitive woman, and that is because I was able to really explore energy and then got into like understanding what my guides are and who my ancestors are. But I don't think I would have been able to do that if I hadn't started with the basics of energy. And then because I am open and receptive, I feel like I have learned how to trust myself and develop my intuition in a way that has opened all kinds of doors for me. And then I will extend the invitation for you to join the group program if you are interested in that as well. All right, so let's get started. So, the science of energy and healing. I'm going to take you back to your high school physics class. Now, I remember being a sophomore, sitting in high school and seeing the periodic table on the wall and hearing something about Einstein and energy and matter and atoms and all of that stuff. And like, I didn't care. Honestly, it was just so that I could learn and understand for the test that I needed to take. But as I'm looking backwards at this now, things are starting to make more sense because now it's connected to something that I have more personal interest in. So from a physics-based perspective, energy, and we've all heard this because we've all taken a physics class, it's everything is made up of atoms. So atoms consist of protons and neutrons and electrons. And protons have a positive charge and electrons have a negative charge. So everything from the table that you're sitting at to the phone you have in your hand to us as people to the light that you're the light structure that you're looking at, all of that is made up of atoms. And now even further research has shown that there's smaller particles called quarks that actually made up the atoms, but they still consist of protons and neutrons. Protons have a positive charge and neutrons have a negative charge. Anyone remember that from high school, that everything is made up of atoms and all matter comes from atoms? Yeah. So everything in the universe, your body, your thoughts, and even your emotions operates through and interacts with energy. Because if everything is made up of atoms, of this energetic property that we're able to distill down to atoms or to quarks, um, then everything in the world is made up of energy, right? Which is like, okay, wait, that still feels like a leap, okay? But here's more scientific evidence that Einstein's theory of energy and matter. So Einstein, we remember this equation, E equals mc squared. I remember learning it from physics. Energy, matter, I don't even remember what the C stands for anymore. But this theory, broken down now, tells us that energy and matter are interchangeable, right? So matter is what we see as this cup. But because we know that the things that make up this cup are the atoms, and atoms have an energetic charge, then this thing is made up of energy, right? And energy makes up a lot of different things. And so at its basic level, this means that every part of us down to our atoms is vibrating at energy. It just depends on how they come together, right? Because the atoms are made up of protons, electrons, neutrons, protons, positive charge, electrons, a negative energy charge, and they go together. But also, what Albert Einstein taught us, which I don't think was, or at least I don't remember from high school, also, is that at his fundamental concept is that mass and energy are interchangeable. They're interchangeable forms of the same thing. So it just depends on how they come together. So energy can move and create mass. Energy can come to a different form, like being in a body. Energy can come into a form like being wind. Energy can be light, right? That different things, everything is made up of energy, but also energy and mass are interchangeable. So also, energy is defined as the ability to do work, which is the ability to exert a force causing the displacement of an object. So anything that is made up of energy has the ability to exert force and move an object, which is why we feel things, right? If you hit your hand on this table, you feel that response, you feel that touch, right? If you were to push someone, you're creating energy. That energy makes them move. So another simple explanation is that energy is just the force that causes things to move. And it's easier to think about, I think, when we're thinking about it in terms of mass or like getting a running start or throwing something. But remember also that matter and energy are interchangeable. It just depends on what does that energy get formed into. We also have an energy system. Our bodies have an energy system. On a cellular level, our bodies rely on energy to function. So if you've ever been in the gym and you've been focused on, let's say, gaining muscle or losing weight, we count macros, or people can count macros. You think about fueling your body for a particular purpose. So you eat a certain way when you're trying to gain weight to lift muscle, or when you're trying to lift muscle, fuel that lift, and versus eating a different way when you're trying to be a marathon runner, right? Different kind of fueling. But you think of putting energy, calories is actually an energetic measurement of what we're putting into our body. And so our body responds to the energy that we're putting into it. In addition, our body has several electrical systems, like the nervous system is considered an electrical system in the body. Our heart has an electrical system, and our brain has electrical activity. So the body's electrical systems work similarly to how electricity powers homes and powers cities. The body cells are naturally negatively charged, and the charge difference between the inside and outside of a cell creates an electrochemical gradient. And this gradient allows ions to flow in and out of cells, which generates electrical impulses. So even at a cellular level, remember we were talking about atoms before, but cells are also made up of atoms, and our cells in our body typically have a negative charge, but they respond to other charges that we put into our body. And that's how we have the electrical system. Just three of them are the nervous system, the heart's electrical system, and the brain's system. So our bodies are constantly responding to the charges that are around. Have you all heard there was a big push to get what was it? Not ionized water. What was it? Ionized water? That wasn't what it. Yeah, right. It was some water that like was the all the rage, and it was I can't remember if that's what it was called or not, but it was basically like the opposite of having acidic water or having alkaline. Yes, thank you, Brittany. Alkaline. Yes. So people were like, oh, alkaline water, alkaline water, alkaline water. And I remember reading something that was like, okay, you need to understand where your body is because it is this electrical system. If you keep putting in alkaline, so non-acidic, but your body needs more acid, you're going to throw your body out of balance. And if you keep putting in more acid, but your body needs to neutralize its charge, and you actually need alkaline water. So in many senses, we know that our body has an electrical system, but we just often don't call it that because, I don't know, maybe we just haven't studied it or they don't make it as plain. But as I'm putting all of these pieces together to kind of lead to where we're going, I'm really seeing that all of this is actually interconnected. So we have an energy field around us as humans. We have an electromagnetic energy field that is often referred to as our biofield. And it isn't just a spiritual concept because it's actually recognized in science. And it's the field that surrounds us and interpenetrates the body, influencing our physical and emotional health. So if our beings are receptive to positive and negative energy charges, and I don't mean positive like good and happy versus negative, depressed and sad. I just mean, the charge that comes with the atoms. And if we are interacting, we have a field around us, and everything else is made up of energy. It makes sense that we would be influenced and affected by the energy fields that we come into contact with on a regular basis. At least it makes sense in my humble opinion. So the biofield, another name for it or another explanation for it, is the energetic field that surrounds the human body and is made up of electromagnetic fields generated by the body's cells, tissues, and organs. It's also known as the energy field, the bioenergy field, or living matrix. So we have this biofield around us. The biofield is said to integrate the functions and systems within a living organism. It connects the organism's systems to those in its environment. We are not just affected by our environments, but we are connected to our environments. This also extends beyond our physical boundaries. It's not just where I'm touching here, but there's a field that has a bigger boundary than my physical mass. It could be a zone of exchange, or it is a zone of exchange between people and their environment, and it plays a critical role in maintaining health. So this biofield is interesting and important. So now as I connect it between science and spirit, I'll make this connection. In quantum physics, light and particles can behave both as waves and particles, both as energy and as matter, which is also what Einstein said, right? Einstein said that mass and energy are interchangeable. So this is talking about energy and matter being mass. This wave particle duality suggests that physical and energetic worlds are deeply interconnected. In the spiritual context, this idea aligns with how energy healing works. While we might not see energy like light, we can feel and measure its effects like waves influencing particles. So sometimes you might hear a whisper, you might get a download of some information, you might come into contact with somebody and just feel really good, or you might come into contact with somebody and not feel so good, right? We can perceive energy around us that we might not be able to see and that we might not be able to name. But because we are all interconnected and because we're made up of waves and particles, that we can perceive more than what we see with our eye. Also, talking about resonance and frequency, another physics term, two more physics terms here. All energy vibrates at different frequencies. So sound waves create vibrations that we hear as music, but we don't see them. And electromagnetic waves create light that we can see. They're different, but they're still waves. And that our bodies also have natural frequencies. And when they're disrupted by stress, illness, trauma, we can feel off balance. Energy healing aims to restore harmony by clearing blockages and realigning these frequencies. Okay, so energy is everywhere, it's all around us. In physics, energy cannot be created or destroyed, it only changes form. That's the first law of thermodynamics that you might remember from high school as well. But in spirituality, this also resonates with the idea that life energy or prana or chi or soul energy does not disappear, but it flows and transforms and connects us to the universe and our ancestors. So lots of spiritual beliefs believe that even though a person may not be living here on earth, that their spirit may take on a different form. And that can fit with the scientific belief or the scientific understanding that energy changes forms, that it's not created or destroyed, but that it can move in different ways. That's probably a whole other uh, webinar. So, all right. So we are energetic beings. Atoms in our body constantly vibrate with energy, and these vibrations influence and are influenced by external energy fields. Energy moves and interacts just like waves pass through water or air. Energy flows, but just like waves pass through water or air, energy flows through our bodies via pathways like meridians and chakras. And healing realigns our frequencies, restoring disrupted energy balances the body's natural frequencies, improving physical, emotional, and spiritual well being. So, when we actually engage in practices like breath work or like meditation, we're not just working on this mystical kind of a level, we're actually working with our body's natural energy system and also working with the universe, but it's actually grounded in scientific principle, right? That if we are made up of energy and our energy can be affected, then we can also do things to affect our energy as well. Also, in terms of health and vitality, when energy flows freely, the body systems function optionally. You feel energized, clear-headed, and emotionally balanced. And there's a number of things, of course, that can disrupt that energy flow, whether it's stress or trauma or, just things being out of balance. It definitely happens. So connecting now emotions and intuition, emotional experiences create energetic imprints. For example, unresolved grief might linger in the heart chakra, while fear can settle in the root chakra. Clearing energy blockages allows emotions to flow and strengthens intuitive awareness. So, when I know for me, when I am busy, when I'm stressed, when I haven't taken time to kind of attend to my own, I haven't thought about it this way, but attend to my own sort of electrical circuit, um, things get blocked, right? I might be holding on to that conversation that I should have let go last week, or I might be irritated about something. And then I find it's harder to read my environment. It's harder to tune into my intuition because I'm not as open and receptive because there's something else that's calling my attention. But when I've, got my practices, when I've done sort of my clearing, when I've let go of the things that I'm not supposed to be holding on to anymore, then I can tune into all of the messages around me and see what's for me and see, what I'm supposed to do if I'm looking for direction or where I'm supposed to go or how I'm supposed to be, or just be receptive, even if I don't have a question to what comes up. Energy healing can also reconnect you to your ancestral lineage, allowing you to access their wisdom and release inherited burdens. So, this is one of the things that has opened up for me with just energetic healing, is being able to connect to my ancestors. And we all have ancestors. We all have come right from somewhere. So, we definitely all have ancestors. But one of the things that was important to me as I was connecting with my ancestors was not just to talk about all the trauma and drama. We all have trauma and drama in our ancestral lineage, whether it's recent trauma and drama or kind of that middle road, people within the last few hundred years, or even deep ancestral trauma and drama. But what I realize is that we also have joy, we also have happiness, we also have love, we also have strength, we also have community, we have all of these other things which are very powerful in guiding you in whatever steps that you need or want to take. I often find, kind of going off a little bit on a tangent, but I often find that when I think about, okay, well, what am I supposed to do sort of, I don't know, to make Black people proud, right? Or to make my recent family proud. I often think about what are the recent battles that my family fought. My mom even was just talking to me today. My mom was the first Black woman to integrate the University of Mississippi and had a terrible time. It's not like she was welcomed with open arms, but they let her in. And one of the academic fraternities wants to induct her into the fraternity because they wouldn't let her in even though she had the grades when she was younger, right? And just thinking about like, okay, well, she broke all of these barriers and she has made a name for herself. And often I feel that pressure of like, what barriers should I break? How do I need to keep pushing and keep advancing? And then as I got more connected to my intuition and started thinking about my ancestors, I realized for me, which was so freeing, that my ancestors don't necessarily want me, they don't want me to do something that I don't like. They don't want me to keep carrying a heavy burden. That the dream, I think, for all of our ancestors is really to be free and to be happy and to be healthy and to be whole, right? But if I hadn't been able to connect for myself, I think I still would have been feeling guilty that the people in my family had literally made so many sacrifices so that I could go to law school, so that I could try and buy a house, so that I could kind of be this like great American where I grew up, that I would feel so guilty when I decided that that was no longer for me. So it was when I started connecting to my ancestors that I was able to break out of what is sort of the current dream that is somewhat born from trauma and circumstances to actually see what is the bigger dream, which I think is absolutely about freedom. So energy healing is so transformative because it really looks at healing the whole self. So we have, a doctor for your brain, a neurologist. We have a doctor for your emotions, a psychologist. And if you want any spiritual healing, you got to go find like a witch doctor or like, someone who's an alternative medicine person or someone outside of um, Western medicine, right? But arguably, alternative is this Western medicine that we have now. Not to say that it's wrong, but these natural things, these more like earthy indigenous practices are the original medicine. And so to me, it makes sense that we start to reach back for those because they incorporate are physical, emotional, and spiritual, right? Think about yoga as a practice. It's the breathing, it's the mind concentration, but it's also this physical movement as well. So it has all three of those things in one kind of offering. Even Qigong has movement and breathing and concentration that is considered a spiritual practice, but it's not just one thing or the other thing. Energy healing is also transformative because it empowers your intuition. It allows for the free flow of energy and strengthens your connection to intuition, which allows you to trust your inner guidance. And it helps you to create alignment. Where the energy is flowing harmoniously, you feel aligned with your purpose, with your ancestors, and with the divine. And once you start to feel this free flow or like this alignment, you will be very clear about when you're out of alignment. Once that happens, like once you experience, oh, like this is what it could be like. And then when you say yes to something else that's not quite in alignment, then you really start to feel it. Okay, so I'm gonna do our first poll, and I'm gonna see if you all have any questions. Oh, Seema, I thought are you coming on? Do you have a question?
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Now I am thinking about it, and I thought if you could maybe go like super quickly through the last slides, because I think maybe then my question would come up again.
Uh-huh. These last few here, so energy healing
Yeah.
and emotions and intuition. Yeah.
Yeah,
As
no, I think
as
I'm fine. I think at the end, maybe I will wait because I guess you will answer
yeah.
some questions that I have in my mind automatically.
Okay. Perfect. Well, if it ever comes up again, feel free to ask me, and then I'll
Thank
share
you.
our results here. Are you able to see the results? You're able to see them now, right? The quiz results. Okay. So most of you all are curious about energy healing, which makes sense, which is why you're here. Some of you want to deepen your connection, skeptical but open. I get it. I was definitely there seeking solutions for physical, emotional, spiritual healing. Awesome. Okay, which idea about energy resonates the most with you? Energy is fundamental to everything. That was like a for me, I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense, but it didn't like hit right away until probably like a couple weeks ago. So that's even a new realization, even though I knew it was there for me. Energy connects the physical and spiritual worlds. Yeah, that's a new thing. Blocked energy can disrupt harmony. Good, and energy healing can restore balance and alignment. Yep, I like that. Yeah, we're all sort of in little bit different places, but I really appreciate your responses and your feedback to that. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so now we'll talk about where we can see energy healing in principles and religious ceremonies. And now my background is I have taken a few world religion courses, and so some more ideas might pop up. My background is really in Christianity, so I'm going to ask you all to help me add to this list as well. If you have other um, uh, religious practices where you see some of these, so prayer when now in church, particularly the Black church in the US and like Pentecostal or something non-denominational or, you know, these different denominations, when there's an altar call where people can come to the front to receive prayer at the end of the sermon. If they've been moved by the message from the pastor or if they have something on their minds, they can go to the altar and the predetermined prayer warriors or the pastor will come and they will pray, right? Or even as a collective, just praying. That is another way of just focusing intention and energy, right? That's considered energy work. When you're having everybody kind of think and focus your intention and attention on the same thing, it gives energy to it. The laying on the hands part, this is like where the altar call, you come down and the prayer warriors come and they physically put their hands on you as they pray, you know, in a loving way and to be supportive. And that is similar to me to Reiki, right? If it's Reiki that's done in person, where someone might put their hands on your ears or on your head or on your chest or on your arms to focus their energy and attention to move the energy in your body. There's also like singing. I remember so many times, not just in church, but also like, you know, at a concert when your favorite song comes on, you start singing at the top of your lungs and other people join in, and how you just get this kind of rush of energy and this feeling, and it just feels so good. That singing is also done in other sort of energetic circles to raise the vibration and align the energy frequency of the group. And then also this one kills me here. This connection to the saints in church, the Catholic Church. I remember being a kid and I went to a Catholic high school. And I just remember thinking like, okay, there's a rule about not having any false idols, but we say the Hail Mary, and then there's a prayer of Saint Christopher, and then there's like all this other stuff, right? And then later on in life, as I was looking at more ancestral connection and how my uncle, my parents, my mom and uncle grew up in church. Um, and I had created an altar after It was more recent when I went back to my mom. So like a year ago, I had created this altar and I put my uncle's parents, my grandparents, my uncle's parents, pictures of them on this altar. And my uncle was like, "Don't be doing any spooky stuff. Like, what are you doing?" I was like, "That's your mom and your dad." You know? Like, but but if someone were to tell him to pray to the Virgin Mary, he would probably pray to the Virgin Mary, but he hasn't thought about connecting to his mom and his dad who have passed on, because it's a different thing. But in the church, you're praying to ancestors. They're just not your ancestors. You're praying to ancestors, right? And looking for wisdom from that lineage. So, can you all think of any other things that happen in religious circles that you think have some parallel um, to kind of the energetic world? I think dance sometimes as well. Um, like in church, if you're really moved, you can do a praise dance and dance up and down the aisle. Or we say that the person has caught the Holy Ghost, and that's like where the Holy Spirit has taken over their body. Yeah, my intercessory prayer. Yep, chanting, moments of silence. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Qigong is all about moving energy. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it happens, right? There's some parallels that are there. And I remember when I first started to make the connections, um, because as I kind of branched off and started to explore the more energetic stuff, there was still this part of me that was like, is this okay? Is this safe? Because I had taken myself to church all of these years, but the more that I realized that it's the same stuff, just in different packaging, then the more that I was able to really open up and explore. So outside of these religious contexts, a lot of times in the religious context, there's an intermediary that is required to be able to access some of um, these practices. Like there's a pastor that needs to lead you, or a father, a father that needs to like forgive you for your sins, or because Catholics do the whole confession thing, right? But all of these things, these energetic practices, have been with indigenous cultures since the beginning of time. And the reason why is because people knew that they were connected to the earth and to the sky, to the universe. Like there wasn't this separation that we have now where this is my religious life and this is my work life and this is my home life and this is my personal life and this is my relationship life, right? It was all connected. And so people were living out the mind, body, spirit connection. And if we allow ourselves to reclaim some of these practices in the way that feels good, then we end up reconnecting ourselves back to our own power. What I also realized too, I've been to Ghana a couple times and have led homecoming trips to Ghana. And the more that I hear about colonization outside of the United States, I realize how much religion has been used to really take over indigenous peoples or the colonized people's beliefs, right? And religion was used to instill new values and to tell people, hey, the way that you're doing this is wrong. These are the new rules, and these new rules allowed people to fall under the new reigning authority that was there. So it did not it was purposeful to have people disconnected from their own sort of internal power, because now you've got to go to the moral authority, to the church, to figure out what you should do and how you should do it, right? That's been a practice of outsourcing our own power. And also in one of the courses that I took a sacred sexuality course. And I really believe this about our emotions and our intuition, that because we have these electromagnetic systems that our body is created from, we have this superpower of being able to perceive more energy than we can just see with our own eyes. But because we have been disconnected from that for so long, we have lost a part of our superpower. And so in my own personal life, I am reclaiming my own superpower by tapping into how do I understand my own energy and how do I allow myself to perceive other energies and how I fit into this mix of all of this that is going on around me and around us. And the more that I understand my own gifts and my own power, the less I need to um, ask other people for their opinions, the less I need to double check, is this the right thing? Is this the wrong thing? The more that I feel connected and it doesn't even feel like self-led, but empowered, then the easier in some sense life has really become. So that is my goal for all of us as women. All of us, women in particular, are taught to outsource our power from a very young age. We're taught to be polite, we're taught how to serve, we're taught how to be compliant and not be combative. If you're working like in corporate spaces, maybe not even corporate, sometimes you can say one thing and then a guy comes and says it behind you. Oh, that's a great idea, John, but they didn't even hear you, right? They didn't even like consider that that's what you had said. And so there's so many times when our power is outsourced, and often we can forget that we have this internal power as well. So um, there were a couple times when I was a kid where I would get these little nudges of intuition that I just knew certain things were right and just accurate. I wouldn't know how they would come. I think one of the more recent ones was a couple years ago. My dad passed away in December 2020, about 4 years ago now. And I remember looking at him when I was visiting Portland in August, and I just had this flash, and like I knew that he wasn't going to make it through the holidays. Like I just knew. I don't know where it came from. It just kind of dropped in, and I was so grateful because it allowed me to be able to prepare for that. But he wasn't telling me that. He was like, "Oh, I'll go to the doctor again in the new year. Oh, don't worry about it." I think he knew that he probably didn't have much time left. He had cancer, but he wasn't telling me, right? And so, based on that intuition, instead of ignoring it, I was able to prepare myself as much as I could mentally and also physically to be there as he transitioned in December. And if I would have ignored that or said, oh no, that's, whatever, you're just scared or you're just making stuff up, it would have been a much harder experience for sure, for sure. So, intuition and energy are deeply intertwined, and at its core, intuition is the ability to perceive and interpret different energetic frequencies around and within you. It's the quiet knowing that comes from logic, but that comes not from logic, but from sensing subtle shifts and signals in the energy fields around us. Think of it this way: your intuition is like an antenna picking up on information that's always available, whether it's the energy of a room, the emotional state of a loved one, or the ancestral wisdom that flows through you. The stronger your connection to your own energy, the clearer these intuitive messages become. And when we're disconnected from our energy, intuition can feel cloudy or out of reach. But when we clear the blockages and tune into our natural frequencies, intuition becomes a powerful compass that guides us towards alignment, purpose, and peace. So, in this next section, we'll explore how energy healing helps you reclaim your intuitive power and step into the life of an intuitive woman, a woman who moves through the world guided by her wisdom, connected to her ancestors, and deeply aligned in her purpose. So, in my opinion, an intuitive woman trusts her intuition, her intuitive wisdom, and divine guidance. She feels deeply aligned with her highest calling. She embraces her ancestral roots for strength, clarity, and purpose. And she creates a life rooted in peace, harmony, and self connection. And an intuitive woman leaves behind second guessing, seeking validation, or being controlled by fear. this was a big one for me. I would second guess. I'm also a Libra, so I would do the whole balancing thing and would, need to confirm and reconfirm all the time. Um, you leave behind staying stuck or operating out of alignment. Leave behind seeking constant validation as you're grounded in the truth of who you are. You leave behind letting fear dictate your path because you feel supported by your intuition and the wisdom of your ancestors. So it's like this energy is not even just an energy upgrade. It is an energy upgrade, but to me, it's just like a life upgrade, like a personalized upgrade of just stepping into a whole new level of just being who you are. So before I get into ways that we can develop and grow your intuition, I want to do the next poll and just see where we are. Okay, in terms of the idea about energy that most resonates with you, it looks like it's a tie between energy is fundamental to everything. That was the same question from the first one. Huh? That a repeat? Yeah. Oops. Sorry. Okay, the second one, I'll go right to that then. Um, what about the science surprised you or intrigued you the most? And vibrations and frequencies in the body is the first one, or had the most votes. And then Einstein's equation showing energy and matter interchangeable is the next one. Yeah, and then energy healing aligns with physics and spirituality. I think for me, I probably would have clicked on all of these as the as the biggest surprise for me. I was definitely, um, yeah, as I was putting things together over the years, it's been like, wow, that too. But there were only a couple people that I talked to who had really put it together for me, and it was only like in snippets. It wasn't as direct as I'm sharing now. Okay. Thank you for that. All right. So let's talk about this intuitive connection through ancestral healing. So one of the things that I started my um, I want to say deep dive. Every time I say deep dive now, I think that it's so cliche. And one of my students was telling me, I teach paralegal students, and she was telling me she was meeting with somebody in the law office that she works in, and the paralegal was like, don't use cliche terms like deep dive. Nobody says deep dive anymore. And all I can think is how often I actually say deep dive. So as I'm being cliche and talk about my journey. When I started diving deeply into my own intuitive connection, it really happened for me around the pandemic. It was enough time. We were finally sitting in the house and everybody was signing up for these programs and things like that. And I was just started the basics, like what is intuition? I started with a class called What Are the Clear Senses? Because I've heard of these things, but I didn't know where to start and I didn't know who to trust on how to lead me through this journey. And I think if I would have had a webinar or a video like this that I could have watched to understand where the roots of some of these things are from, it would have helped so much. And so with that, I have created a 12-week program to help everyone reconnect to their intuition, which will then lead to a connection through ancestral healing. But instead of it being a group of just like, we're going to come and like chant Om, the whole time, I'm actually going to be giving you trainings out of 2 of the 3 weeks that we meet each month because I want you to understand the how to, and I want to show you how to develop practices that work for you. So all of us here could have a completely different or just a slightly different kind of practice, which is just fine because it is made for you. But how do you even know where to start if you don't have someone kind of bring them to you and show you what might work for you? So this is a 12-week group program to help you connect or reconnect to your inner wisdom and intuition through ancestral healing practices. And the reason why I say reconnect is because I believe that we are all born as babies connected to our intuition. All you know as a child is what you've inherited in your DNA. You don't know anything else until you become socialized. It's like the kid that knows that this person is kind of shady and so you don't want to hug them, or they know something's up when the parents are fighting, but then we get all this conditioning that tells us, not to believe what we see or not to believe what we perceive. So my goal is to help us open back up into what we can perceive. So as we do this, this is a list of what an intuitive woman becomes. Again, this is you will become a person who makes empowered decisions, guided by your intuition and divine wisdom, rather than relying on external pressures. This was huge for me as um, the first attorney in my family, and feeling like I had to carry on this sort of big legacy within my family. And not that my parents had ever put that pressure on me directly, but I already shared about my mom a little bit and all the things that she had done. And my grandfather worked with Medgar Evers and Dr. Martin Luther King, and my dad was this Hall of Fame basketball. Like I just felt this pressure, right, to do something big. And so I was that kid who always did what was expected of me and gave very little thought to what I wanted to do. I want you to become more free, to forget about these societal expectations and to really move your life around as you need to feel like you're living in alignment. And that could be a big move like me, where I left California and moved to Lisbon, Portugal, or it may not be, right? It's whatever is right for you. I want you to embrace your ancestral roots, drawing on their strength and clarity and purpose so that you feel empowered and guided and protected by the people who have come before you, not just pressured and not just, held down by what some of the trauma and drama are, but I want you to pull from them, pull strength. And I want you to create a life of peace and harmony rooted in connection to yourself, to spirit, and to the divine. I want you to stop second guessing yourself because you trust your own knowing and inner guidance. Second guessing was probably my middle name. That doubt and second guessing, super common for me. I want you to stop seeking constant validation because you will know that you're making the right decision for you because you have tuned in and understand what the energy is telling you. I want you to stop letting fear dictate your path. And I want you to stop staying stuck in indecision. You're going to move confidently forward in alignment with your soul's purpose. So here are the details. Each month, for the first 2 weeks of the month, so we'll be on for the first 3 weeks and then off for the fourth and or fifth week. In March, there's 5 weeks. So the first 2 weeks will be educational and coaching calls each month. So this is to help you understand the process and practice of connecting to your ancestors and to your intuition. And then the third week of each month will be a breathwork session. And I find that breathwork is one of the best ways to be able to drop into a state of relaxation and then just to allow your subconscious to work and to do its thing in the background. I will also create guided journal prompts, and I have workbooks and worksheets for you that will help you stay connected and intentional with exercises throughout the week. So you won't feel like, oh, I'm only tuning in when we're on the call. If you have a journal practice, you'll be able to do some journaling prompts. I am such a note taker and a list maker. Like I love to be able to check the box. I'll have some of those things as well. And then to stay connected throughout the week, we'll have a community Slack to be able to share updates between sessions. So that could be, I had a dream about this, or this is a win. I had to make a decision. And instead of, saying yes when I really wanted to say no, I was able to say no because I knew and trusted that that's what was best for me. So because you attended this webinar, if you join before December 25th, then you will get a customized ancestral tarot reading. Now, the last group that I did this for, this was their favorite part about the program. So I will use my tarot cards and I will ask very specific questions. There's 7 questions that I ask, which are things like, which ancestors are here to support you? What are your unique gifts that you have inherited from them? What do they want for you? What kinds of things you need to release? And when I did this reading for everyone in the group, at least one person watched it like every day for the 30 days that we worked together. Other people watched it, a couple times a week for the 30 days that we worked together because it gave them an insight to their own particular ancestors. And one of the things that was surprising, it's almost kind of embarrassing to say surprising, but like it was so overwhelmingly positive. Like it was like, let go of that doubt that you have, right? But it wasn't just positive in a way that felt like it wasn't real, but it was so supportive in a way that I don't think we would have been able to access in a different way. So if you join before December 25th, then we will meet on a live Zoom call and I will do the tarot card reading for you. I will record it and also do my write up afterwards. So you have that with you as much as you want for the rest of your journey. And then also, there's a pay in full bonus that if you do choose to pay in full, that there is a group tarot card reading that I will host before we begin our 12-week sessions together. And the group is really cool because it's the collective energy of the group. And so there's always new insights and supports, and just kind of like as we're in this, I believe that everyone who's supposed to be together will end up being together. And so it'll be a message that is specifically for us as a group that will move forward. So that is the pay in full bonus. So the energy exchange or the financial exchange is $1,200 if you join before December 31st. If you choose to join after January 1st, then it's $1,500. And there are payment plans that are available at both prices. And if you live here in Portugal and are making money in Portugal, send me a message and I will have a different payment plan option for you if you're not making US dollars. And then there's also this upgrade to the VIP option. So this is really for the folks who were like, all right, I'm the oldest daughter, I'm the only child. I feel all this pressure with my family. Like I'm the organizer, I'm the overachiever, and I just need to make some changes. This is for the folks who are ready, like they know exactly what they want to work on. And they're ready to go deep into their own healing around these particular topics. So you're exhausted, you're overwhelmed, you're sick of taking care of everybody else, but you're ready to make a change. Maybe it has to do with the relationship with your parents. You can't stop feeling guilty because you want to tell them no, or you want some more space between them, or you need to make a decision that benefits you but goes against their wishes and their vision for your life. So this includes a VIP option of coaching, individual coaching alongside the group program. So this will be 2 coaching calls per month, and then daily Slack support as much as you want in between calls, access to guided meditations, breathwork sessions, and Reiki sessions, and then monthly tarot card readings so that you know exactly where to focus your energy and attention for the next 30 days. So you'll have 3 because it's a 3-month program at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end. And that upgrade is 2,500 or 4 payments of 625 a month. Now, wait. Let me put the link in the chat. I always forget to do that. I tell everybody what it is and then don't give you a way to go check it out. So that is the registration page. And just as a word of encouragement, you're here because you're ready for something more, whether it is more information, more practice, or a deeper level. This is your invitation to say yes to your intuition and to step into your power. So now is the time for questions. I'm also going to do one last poll. I hope you aren't sick of the polls yet, but I thought I would do one last poll and then ask you, what questions do you have?
Well, I would like to say something. It's not really a question, but yes, thanks a lot for the presentation, and a lot of things you said like really aligned to me and was really, really interesting. And I thought maybe it's also interesting for you how I found you. So I'm really interested in energy in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for something that like addresses a little bit more like, yeah, people of color or people with a bit more awareness, because I feel here in Europe it's like a white woman party of
Mm-hmm.
self-development and finding their purpose. And I really want to move something with the things I do and also with my work. And yeah, and I really miss this awareness in Europe. And yeah, it made me a bit happy that that I heard you live in Lisbon now, and I really hope you can spread this awareness a little bit there.
Yeah, thank
I think
you.
Lisbon is a bit different also from Spain. I think they have quite a big community,
Mm-hmm. It's still
I
very
guess.
white though.
Yeah.
I think all over the world it's still very white.
Yes, and they always say, yeah, it's so diverse. There are so many experts, but I mean, these experts are not diverse. It's also like
Mm-hmm.
a really, yeah, specific, uh, yeah, group of people. I have a Kurdish heritage,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really interested in art therapy as well. And I
Mm-hmm.
never found any Kurdish practitioner so
Yeah.
far, even if I know that in this culture they have so much spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Thank
It
you.
was not a question, but I had the need to tell you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. What I have found also, I was talking to a new friend of mine who's Eritrean, and she said her mom is very Muslim. The family is Muslim. Her mom is like devout Muslim, but she said her mom is so witchy, but she has no idea, right? So every time she always does she's always giving like a little offering here, a little offering there. She's always saying prayer. She's always doing these things that, as my friend has developed her own understanding of just like energy and these kind of universal principles, she's like, oh, my mom's totally a witch, but she doesn't know. She doesn't think of it like that because she's devout Muslim. So these practices, they're there. And so I think a lot of us in our families, we probably have particularly women in our families who engage in certain types of practices, but don't, this is a modern language for what it is, right? Because now we've been so educated that we need to call it something. Whereas before, like that's just what you do. That's just your aunt. That's just how we meet on Wednesdays, right? So I think the things have
Exactly,
definitely
yes.
changed. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So our last poll results, and I'll make sure I get you all out of here. So what resonates most about becoming an intuitive woman? Most of you all said trusting your inner wisdom and guidance. I so agree. Feeling deeply aligned with your purpose, that definitely helps. And then connecting with ancestral wisdom, and then living a life rooted in peace and harmony. Yeah, definitely. Man, trusting the inner wisdom and guidance. I am so good at trying to logic my way out of things for sure. But if you could fully trust your intuition, how would your life change? Majority of you said you would make decisions with confidence and clarity. That's huge. And then, oh, a tie between confidence and clarity, and I'd embrace my higher purpose and calling. Then I'd break free from fear and self-doubt. I'd feel more connected to my true self. Yeah, beautiful. Well, all of that is definitely available um, to you, and my 12-week program is designed to help you get to that point. So, as I wrap up, I want you to remember and take with you that tuning into your energy and intuition is really a superpower. And it's actually a creator given gift. I started thinking about it like that because it is in our design that if we have electronic systems, electromagnetic systems, energy systems in our body, our nervous system, our brain's system, our heart system, that allows us to perceive other energy fields around us. It is a creator given gift that we have been coached out of, but we can explore again. We can coach ourselves back into to really tap into our full power as human beings. And when you know yourself and your ancestors, your purpose becomes very clear. And now is the time to reclaim your power and your inner authority. You're here for a reason, and now is the time to take some action. So just these are the details again. And with that, that is the end of my presentation, and I will take more questions. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Brittany.
okay. So when does the program start?
It
Do you
starts
have like
on, yeah, it'll be on Saturdays, January 25th, I think is the first day. Let me pull up my calendar. And I was going back and forth between doing a Saturday and doing a Tuesday. Um, Where's the calendar? Saturdays works well for my schedule, but if Saturdays doesn't work for you all, then I'm definitely there. All those sessions will be recorded, but I'm also open to doing another day as well. The 25th, January 25th.
in the VIP option? So that is just for the first 30 days,
No, the
or is
VIP
that
will
the whole
continue throughout the
program?
whole 12, yeah, throughout the whole 12 weeks. So you'll get the group and then you'll get 2 private coaching calls a month on top of our group meetings.
So I'm a CPA and we have tax season coming up.
Mhm.
What do you think about like a time commitment for that? Like, do you think that that would be a good time frame considering how busy I would be?
You know what? I think it'll help you balance out the stress that you normally feel because you can connect in as much or in as little time as you want to. So you'll have to, one thing that I really love about taking classes, I put it on my calendar and I carve out the time for myself and I don't let anybody else take it away. So at least on Saturdays, right? And
Right.
then as you choose to, engage in the little activities throughout the week, whether that's journaling or not. I mean, the journaling could be done in as little as 10 minutes. And I do my practices in the morning, and it really helps to just set myself up for the day so that I can go into, whatever's coming up next, feeling like I've already taken care of myself.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that would be something I would actually be able to make sure I'm fully invested in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. And right now the time is scheduled for um I think it's let me look again on my calendar. I think it's like 7 or 7:30. No, it's not. The calendar's not loading. 7 or 7:30 Lisbon time, because it's 5 to 6:30. Yeah, 7:30 Lisbon time, which then is 11:30 Pacific and 2:30 East Coast.
that was all my questions. Thank you
Okay.
so much for this. This
Yeah.
was amazing. I learned a lot. I didn't I feel like I always knew that energy was connected to like science and like the emotional and all that was connected, but the way you laid it out was just like kind of mind blowing because
Mhm.
I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I'm like I think one of my superpowers is like being able to make things that are complicated less complicated. Um I'm able to make these connections through different. Sometimes it takes me a couple years to like put it all together, but I like being able to make the connection and say, this is what it is and make it easier for someone else. You don't have to go through all the same steps. But yeah, it's like all around us. We've been doing it our whole lives and had no idea.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Thanks, Brittany.
Mhm.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all for joining and staying on. I really appreciate it, and I hope that I get to see both of you soon. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks
All
a
right,
lot.
we'll be in touch. You'll get some emails from me.
Great. Have a good night.
Okay, you too. Bye. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. The best way to keep in touch is to go to my website, ashawilkerson.com, and join my email list. If you'd like more information about this episode that you just listened to, head to the show notes and you'll find all the details and all the links. See you next week.